Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited to check out what came first from Big Potato Games. This is for 2 to 8 players, ages 10 plus. It'll take you probably about 15 to 25 minutes to play. And what came first is a really simple game in which you're going to be laying down poker chips onto a board trying to predict which of two things came first, and then if you're right, you'll move forward. If you're wrong, you'll move backwards. But there's some Mario Kart aspects mixed into the game. There's a team version of the game, which you're probably going to be playing, I imagine, a lot of the time. It's a relatively simple game, but is it good? Let's open it up and play what I think. But before we do that, I want to give a big shout out to Mike, who supported our Kickstarter, and wanted to give a shout out to the Get Out and Game Gong Nashville meetup. So be sure to check that out. If you are in the Nashville area, I'll be sure to post a link down below where you can get some more information on that if you want to play some games up in Nashville or down in Nashville, depending on where you are, or to the left or right of Nashville, I guess, if you're really adjacent to it. But let's open the game already. Come on. Alrighty then, we'll take a look at what you're going to get inside of what came first. So first and foremost, we're going to handy dandy rule booklet. It's 2 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples, and it should have you up and running smoothly very, very quickly, which is a big thumbs up. However, there is one big rules omission, which is a thumb down. I'll tell you what that rules omission is in a second when it gets to a time that would actually make sense. But overall, for a party game, it's a well-done rule booklet, aside from that one big glaring rules question that you probably will have right when you start the game, as you'll see in a second. Continuing on, let's go over the components, then we'll get into the gameplay. So component-wise, you're going to have this little board. It's going to have a go spot. This is where you're going to start, and it's going to have a finish spot where you will finish. If you were one of the first people to get to the finish one, or the only person who gets to the finish line, you win the game. Just as simple as that. There's no tiebreakers or anything like that, even though you could easily house rule it into the game. Next, everybody is going to get these little poker chips, which are really nice right here. They are not cardboard. They are actual like plastic or whatever this material is. They're very nicely done. You're going to give the starter to whoever you want to be the first player, and then everyone is going to get one of these time tokens right here. Now these are going to be a Mario Kart-esque aspect to the game, and how it works is everyone's going to get one secretly. So swap places with the player in first position. If you're in first position, swap places with the last player. So this player is going to put it right there, and only they know what that token will do when someone lands on it. What do we got next? We got this one. Move back 3 spaces. I don't want that, so we'll put that one right here. We'll put this one right here. For the next 2 rounds, you can't move backwards. That's a huge one. And then over here we got the magnet. Everyone in front of you moves back 2 spaces. If there's no one in front of you, you move back 2 spaces. And as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 10 of these different tokens. So each game is going to be a little bit different in that aspect. But now we're ready for the start of the game. And how does it work? Well, Monsters, Inc. versus Shrek. Which one came out first? So starting with the starter, everyone is going to be able to, in turn order, place their poker chips wherever they would like to do it. So I think Shrek came first, and I'm willing to bet 2 here. But honestly, this is where the rules question comes in play, which is, can you go behind the go? Can you get negative points? I would assume you would have to stop, obviously, when you got to finisher. I'm assuming this is as far back as you could go, but it should be covered in the rules. Because obviously, if it's just you can't go past go, then everyone's going to bet 3 right here. So we're going to say for this purpose, everyone can go past 3. So I'll put 3 down here. I'll put 2 here and then 1 here, and I'll guess that Monsters, Inc. came out in 1998. And then right here, I'll put 2 there, and I will guess that Shrek came out in 2001. So, as you can see, there's also spots down here to guess the year, and I did utilize those. So how this works is, if you are correct, both on which one came first and when the year came out, then you are going to get yourself 5 additional spaces to move. So let's just see what happens. So Shrek came out first. Yellow wins, and the lovable ogre hit the big screen in April 2001. Booyah! Which actually Monsters, Inc. came out in 2001 as well. So now Pink would go forward 3 spaces because they're the starter. 1, 2, 3, and ha ha ha, they move backwards 3. And so they would get their tokens back. Now Black would get to move forward 7 spaces, because 5, 6, 7. So Black just took it demandingly at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And these people obviously got it wrong. So now everybody gets their poker chips back. The starter would move 1 space to the right. This this would go away because now it's out of the game, and this would just get put all the way to the bottom of this gigantic stack of cards. And you're going to rinse, wash, and repeat until someone gets to the finish line, at which point they will be the winner of what came first. Now, let's just give you some more of the cards. Gucci Chanel, Bob Barker, Betty White, Ultrasound CAT Scan, Lego IKEA, Helicopters Anime, National League American League, Water Slides, Roller Coasters, Boy Scouts, Swiss Army Knife, Hey Arnold, Rugrats, obviously Rugrats, Brunch, Happy Hour, Easy Cheese in a Can, Computer Mouse, Nintendo 64, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, oh my gosh, I'm so wrong, HBO, Cinemax, Washington Post, New York Times, you get it. So there's a huge diverse list of these, but that in a nutshell is what you're going to do instead of what came first. Alrighty then, what came first from Big Potato Games? What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. It's a very light, simple party game, which is going to be a turnoff to a lot of people because there's no real strategy here. It's just try and guess which came first. Now, there is just a smidge with where you place your tokens on the board, and if you want to play on tokens, because some of the tokens are good, some of the tokens are bad, but for the most part, it's do you have the knowledge of these two things? If you do, good, you're going to score, you're going to move. If not, well, too bad. Also, on the con side, there's that one big rules omission of can you go backwards. It's easily house rulable, and I personally, I like to open that area up so you can go backwards, so that way everybody's not just like, I'm just going to put out 3 every single time the first round, but, you know, that's up to you, and it should be in the rules. Any other cons I have with the game? You know, eventually you're going to go through all the cards if you really do enjoy the game, so there's a finite amount of those. And with only 2 things on there, I will say you're probably going to remember them. Like in most trivia games, it's like, oh, there's 4 answers or there's 6 answers or whatever, so you're not going to like just remember it. But with this one, the topics are kind of interesting, like that PlayStation Nintendo 64 one. So there was one card that I went to as I was flipping through the cards and just reading them out to you guys so you could get a better feel for what the cards are like. And I was sure it was Nintendo 64 that came before the PlayStation, but then it was actually PlayStation. And now that is probably going to be buried into my brain for the rest of my life because I'm just shocked and appalled that the PlayStation, in fact, came out before the Nintendo 64. Which means that I would then know that the next time I played the game. So I could see that being a potential problem since there's only 2 answers. Because because here's the thing, and this is kind of a pro, but it's kind of a con. They put interesting stuff on the back of the cards telling you about which one came first, and maybe there's a little bit of a history, or they came out really close together, and you're more likely to remember that information because they're giving you that interesting information, which means that you're going to remember the stuff the next time you play the game, so they need more cards, but there's still a lot of cards. You get what I'm saying here. There is the potential, if you really love this game and you played it a lot, to start remembering the answers, which is bad. Any of the cons I have with the game, no real strategy. Whoever's better at, you know, just when things came out is generally going to win this game. But moving on to the pros, I really enjoy what came first. I think this is a heck of a fun game, and I think most people are going to like this game as long as they know what it is going into it. I think that this is marketed at a mass market style crowd, and I think it's going to go over incredibly well with the mass market style crowd. And here's the other thing about this game, and I did want to mention this also on the con side. It's a lot more fun at the higher player counts as opposed to the lower player counts. I actually like playing this one in teams, which is normally not something I say. Normally, when there's an artificial team aspect added to the game where it's like, oh, if you're playing with 8 players, just make everybody team up. I normally hate that stuff. It sounds like some crap grandma would do, you know, where it's like, oh, you guys got too many? Well, you guys can just team up on that popsicle. I don't know. Okay. Anywho, it actually really is fun in this game because it gets you guys, or you people, discussing, like, which one you think came first, and it can lead to some really interesting conversations about why you think something came first, where it's like, no, I remember, I was like 6 years old, and I remember very specifically it came out because my mom hit me, and as she was pulling me out of the mall, and I saw that the PlayStation was being released, and the Xbox was taking, or the Nintendo 64 was taking pre-orders, or something like that. It can lead to like these really interesting, funny moments, and that's not something you typically get in most trivia games. So I will say I actually liked it best as a team game, which I found very surprising because normally, like I said, I would rather play by myself. But with this one, it actually was kind of fun because you guys can bounce off of each other a little bit. Some So, there you go. That is what came first. I like the components. Components are well done. The rules are well done at getting you up and running, aside from that one glaring omission. The box insert works perfectly well. I feel like there is a lot of cards. It's not like you're going to run out of cards soon, but it was something they did want to mention because they put such interesting information on each one of the back of the cards, and that's another thing that I really like. I like reading that information. I like finding out which came first and knowing a little bit of the backstory about, you know, whatever it was, because I love having all that stupid useful information inside of my brain. I would have liked it if it went to a higher player count, but in the end, what came first? I think if you're in the market for a very light, simple, mass market style party game, this is definitely one you should check out. It's a lot of fun, and this is one that I'm going to be keeping at my buddy's house. He has all my party games, and I think this is one that is actually going to get played on a semi-routine basis just because it's so easy to learn, it's so easy to teach. You can play it with pretty much any age range, but yes, some are not going to be as good as others, but if you're teamed up, that's not that big of a deal. Like if you got a 10-year-old, you know, they can still take guesses at stuff. They can still make educated guesses, so it does turn into a bit of a family game. So I think this is a great party game and a great family game that's only dinged down by that one little rules issue. So there you go. What came first from Big Potato Games? Definitely one I can recommend you check out, as long as you know what you're getting when you get into it. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. If you're support the channel, click on that little Amazon Associates link down below. And in the comments below, let me know, would you rather have one gigantic eye or two small noses? For me personally, two small noses. Definitely two small noses. I feel like one gigantic eye is going to make 3D movies really hard. So I'm not all about that. I love them 3D movies. But let me know in the comments below. One gigantic eye or two small noses. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.